This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
Previously on Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels.
So, do you use the lightsaber to perform LASIK?
It's a delicate operation. We have smaller versions of those, like the light hatchet or the light drill, the light jackhammer.
Your benefit plan is truly terrifying.
Hey, you going to Jimmy V's? Yeah.
And I was very fortunate and got to go to the gala a couple years ago, and that place just blew me away. That being said, I imagine he could put together one hell of an exhibit there at Celebration.
Whoa. I've always wondered if there are comedy clubs in the Star Wars universe.
I think there was that one club on Coruscant.
Yep. I've always wondered.
Hey, I bought a new computer the other day. Yeah, it was made on Geonosis. Yeah, but I had to take it back. The software was full of bugs. Oh!
Genocide isn't funny.
Yeah, it was always running low on memory. I told the computer tech it was choking on its applications. Yeah.
That wasn't funny the first time.
Yeah, Boba was just out here. What a great guy. The other day, I was at his place, and we were playing his favorite game.
Oh, no.
Jingo.
He's really stinking it up out there.
So, I'm still in command?
Do you feel in charge?
But I built you a Death Star.
And this gives you power over me?
I can't breathe.
Be careful not to choke on your aspirations, Director.
Dad jokes? Really?
Dad jokes? What do you mean? Why would you say that? Do you think I'm a father?
No, Lord Vader. It's just what you said it's what they call a dad joke.
Mm-hmm.
Like a bad pun.
Oh.
So, not a father.
How unfortunate. Because if I was a father, I'd be very excited about it.
It's, again, to me, it just seems like at some point you're taking advantage of your fans. And
Super Clash. Further, please excuse the following occasional use of the phrases that may be taken out of context. Space Blaster, By Bogan's Black Babbling, Excite a Young Child, Togruta Tugboat, Saber through the left eye causing spontaneous death twitches, Star Wars meat. Dennis, please call the paramedics. An Ewok pants punched me and I'm choking on my bubblegum, but only if I say it using the Twi'lek sign language. Bantha skirt. And finally, love choking a hut.
What is this shit?
Whoa.
We're glad you're back, Scoundrels. Here's what is in store on this week's show. Rogue One came away empty-handed at the Oscars, but has a chance of redemption elsewhere. We'll discuss this and more in this week's news. Celebration is just a month away, and we have convention updates ranging from new celebrity appearances to convention exclusives. Chuck Wendig's thrilling conclusion to the Aftermath series arrived with Empire's End. We'll give our takes when we review it in this episode's Hypothetical. Chopper and AP5 set off for an adventure in the latest episode of Rebels. We review Double Agent Droid. Of course, we love hearing from our Scoundrels. We'll get to your feedback and silence fools. Did we mention Celebration is a month away? Yeah, we're excited. Thanks for joining us for episode 24 of Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels.
I'm so glad you found me again. Hold me close. I'll be your tiny dancer. You're like a big, warm, violent teddy bear. Oh, Chewie, you're the best co-pilot anyone could ask for. I don't know how this is possible, but say it will never end. Now spin me like you did on episode 8.
Taxus. Hello? Anyone there? Taxus.
Huh? What?
You were zoned out there. What were you thinking?
Oh, nothing. Just daydreaming.
Okay. Well, it's time to start the show.
Oh, okay. Infinite greetings, scoundrels. Welcome back to the one-dimensional podcast that has no width or height, but plenty of length without any points. I'm your co-host and event horizon of all things Darkside, Darth Taxus, coming to you from the unfinished aft hallway of my flagship, the Assessor Collector. And with me is the guy who can't wait to jack you up, Dennis the Phantom Menace Keithley. Dennis?
Hey, Taxus, and welcome to all of our listeners. We affectionately refer to all of you as our scoundrels, which is a lot better than the alternative, trust me. Also, scoundrels, want to remind you of a couple things. First, Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels is an official supporter of Star Wars Celebration Orlando. Mm-hmm. Of course, we've been talking about Celebration for months now, but we'll just remind you that Celebration occurs April 13th through the 17th at the Orange County Convention Center. Get your tickets at StarWarsCelebration.com because they will sell out.
That's 2017, close. Right?
Yep. In addition, Taxus and I will be attending Fan Expo Dallas. This event is scheduled for March 31st through April 2nd and will feature Mark Hamill and Alan Tudyk amongst the Star Wars guests. You can find ticket information on fanexpodallas.com. Right now, we're planning on attending on Saturday, so if you are going to be around, look us up. We'll be wandering the floor. Yeah. And we hope to see you there.
And actually, I might try to sneak do the triple play here with Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So,
well,
Saturday, yeah. Oh,
you're doing the Iron Man appearance. I don't know that I'm going to pull all that off, but I'm going to be there when I can.
Saturday, I'll definitely be all full Taxus, but any of the other days, I might just be wearing my robe, and maybe nothing else. You never know.
All right, well, let's head on over to the news. It's been quite a busy week for Star Wars news, so let's get right to it. Taxus, what is up first?
Well, what's up first are the Saturn Awards, Dennis. And although Rogue One may have been shut out at the Oscars, it's been nominated for 11 Saturn Awards. The nominations include Best Science Fiction Film Release, Felicity Jones for Best Actress in a Film, Diego Luna for Best Actor in a Film, Gareth Edwards for Best Film Direction, Best Film Screenplay, Best Film Product Design,
Production Design.
That too. Michael
Giacchino.
Thank you for Best Film Music, Best Film Costume Designer, Best Film Makeup, and Best Film Special and Visual Effects. Also, Rebels was nominated for Best Animated Series for Film on Television. So, yeah, that's pretty good. That's a lot of bests. I'm kind of sick of saying that word now.
Well, yeah, but you may remember last year, Force Awakens didn't do anything at the Oscars either. But then it did very well at the Saturn Awards. So I think Rogue One will do well there too. I don't know that it's going to sweep all those categories, but I suspect it's going to win a number of them.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know, Best Film Makeup. That kind of seems like that would be. I don't remember anything that was really. Maybe that's why it's best, because nothing stood out.
Well, if I had to guess on that one, I think some of the stiffer competition would be something like Star Trek Beyond. That was nominated for an Oscar. So there's going to be competition here. I don't think it's going to come away with all of these, but I suspect it'll win a number of them. Star Wars films tend to do pretty well.
Well, here's hoping they come away with a bunch of ringies.
Yes. Okay. Well, in other news, Lucasfilm has announced that Rebels will be back for its 4th season. So, we've all been wondering about that. And because normally we'd had announcements about this well before now.
Right.
So, although few details were provided by Lucasfilm at the time of the announcement, they promised more information would be provided at Star Wars Celebration, which we will discuss here in a bit as well. Mm-hmm. So, hey, that's good news. I don't think I was fully expecting it to come back. If it didn't, I think it was going to be a ratings issue instead of a story issue, because they just don't appear. A lot would have to happen that doesn't seem possible in the last 4 episodes, which I guess technically is 3 because the last one's a double episode, in order to get to a natural conclusion. So it just would have had to been canceled. And so I'm glad to see that it's coming back. I do know I believe all these announcements have said that it's the highest rated show on Disney XD. So,
oh, really?
Okay. Yeah. So while it may not pull in stellar ratings overall, it's the best thing they got going on that channel.
I think there's a little bit of a difference between ratings over, let's say, the regular networks and pay networks, if you know what I mean. You know, they're still getting a cut of something because people are paying for their channel in some form or fashion. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, might not be as much of an emphasis in it, but I mean, what kind of foolish network would ever cancel a series before they were able to wrap it up? I mean,
what kind of network would do that to a beloved Star Wars franchise?
I know.
It's unfathomable that type of thing could happen.
They call that career killers, you know?
Right.
Mm-hmm. So after that, we've got the Han Solo movie, and additional casting for Han Solo was recently announced. Michael K. Williams joins the cast in an unspecified role. Mr. Williams is known for his roles as Omar Little in The Wire and Albert Chalky White in Brooklyn Empire. Han Solo is still slated for release on May 25th, 2018, and I'm familiar with him from Brooklyn Empire, but I'm not so familiar with The Wire. I know I should know it. It sounds like something I would have been interested in, but I seem to remember watching one episode and just kind of getting glaze eye and I'm kind of bored, you know. But
yeah, well, I haven't watched any of these shows. I am way behind on everything, so guilty. But everyone seems to be excited about this, which to me is a good thing. You know, there's not much else to say. We don't know what role he's going to be playing. I'm getting a vibe similar to what we had with both The Force Awakens and Rogue One. You know, you've had all these casting announcements and everything, and then, you know, they start production and all of a sudden there's more casting announcements. Yeah. So, you know, I don't know if that means we're going to get any more, but you know, I wonder if The Last Jedi goes through reshoots this summer, if we're going to be suddenly getting more announcements for that movie.
Yeah.
Guess we'll see.
And it kind of fits the whole vein of, you know, you've got somebody out there that's done some work. He's not, you know, internationally known or acclaimed or anything like that. And, but by all accounts, I mean, he's got chops, obviously, because those are some heavy hitting roles. And I just wonder if he's not going to be some sort of crime boss. That's a possibility. That's a possibility. I guess we'll find out. I suspect, you know, we're going to be getting a lot more about this movie because we're going to get Celebration, and they're going to kind of have to be promoting at some point towards the end of the year both Han Solo and The Last Jedi. Yeah. Because if this is a May release, they don't get their separate block of an entire year to promote a movie. They're going to have to. It seems like there's going to be at least some overlap on these. So anyway. Yeah. All right. Well, in our final news item, although there haven't been any previews for The Last Jedi, J.J. Abrams, the director of The Force Awakens and the producer of The Last Jedi, is hyping Mark Hamill for his role as Luke Skywalker in the next installment of the Star Wars saga. He believes that Mark should win an Oscar for this performance. And he's anyway, so if Mark were to be nominated, it would be the first nomination for an actor for the role in Star Wars since Alec Guinness was nominated for Obi-Wan Kenobi in A New Hope. And if he were to win, it would be the first win. And gosh, I guess Empire Strikes Back got the last Oscar for a movie, or was that Phantom Menace? Did it get something? I don't think it did. I cannot recall these things.
All I know is we've had several movies with a drought, so I'm hoping Last Jedi can home with something
like Grapes of Wrath. That was a movie with a drought, and
yeah, not what I had in mind. But anyway,
could I just add a little public service announcement?
Go right ahead.
If you see anything out there saying this is the full Jedi or Last Jedi trailer, it's probably not. Okay.
No. Yeah, not until you get to Celebration, folks.
Right. So somebody put together. I mean, I applaud what they're doing and everything, but I don't know. I saw a couple of the first off recycled material. If you see that, that's a clear
Yeah, one thing I'll add to that though is that I don't know that it's really the creators that are billing these things as official, so much as that someone watches it, they don't pay attention to the caption, and then they pass it off as the official trailer.
Right.
And so,
yeah.
So just be careful with that. You're not. Anyway, I don't want to lecture anybody.
No.
But right now we don't really have the show. Okay.
Well, there were some tweets and there were some actual sneak peeks that some people got to see, and apparently Luke Skywalker's first words. I don't know if it was like a joke thing about what his first words were, just for these select few that saw it, or if it really is. I'm not going to say what they are, of course. But so there is some stuff starting to kind of percolate out there, but not a full trailer.
Okay. Well, that concludes our look at this week's news. For more on these stories and more, we recommend Jedi News, Coffee with Kenobi, and Courtney Martin's Friday column on ratchetup.com, The Week in Geek. All right, with about a month to go, it's time for some Star Wars Celebration Orlando updates. Taxus, get us started. What is up first?
Well, what's up first are a bunch of video game stuff, Dennis. Electronic Arts and other Star Wars video game creators will be at Celebration. And they were last time at Anaheim, and that was a real popular rollout. Of course, it was with Battlefront, and everybody was excited about seeing Boba Fett at Jakku for some reason. But attendees will be able to hear what is in store for Battlefront, Galaxy of Heroes, and the Old Republic, and much more at the convention. In addition, fans of the Old Republic can join a special off-site Cantina community event featuring talks with the developers and opportunities to meet the game's designers. Now that's kind of cool. I don't know a single one of the game's designers by name or even face or whatever, but that'd be pretty fun. I haven't played in so long, but I still keep my stuff active.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a popular portion of the event. I think I'll stop by and probably check out Battlefront and stuff like that. I've never played that game. I'm not playing any other games Star Wars related on my phone at the moment.
Yeah.
I've invested time in Commander. I have played plenty of the Old Republic in the past, so it might be nice to check those out. I kind of feel like I've been left behind by those games because it's been a while. But so that might be worth checking out.
I kind of jump onto a new game just to make sure my name is secured, at least.
Gotcha. All right. Well, in other news, we've got a whole slew of new celebrities that have been announced for autographs and photo opportunities, including, this is quite the list here, David Barclay, who is the puppeteer from Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. He did work on Jabba. Paul Blake, better known as Greedo. Garrick Hagen, Biggs Darklighter. Brian Herring, who is a puppeteer for BB-8 from The Force Awakens. Daniel Logan, who is, of course, the young Boba Fett. Angus McInnes? Dutch Vander, who we just saw in Rebels. Peter Mayhew, who, of course, is Chewbacca. I shouldn't have to remind anyone of that. Ray Park is, of course, Darth Maul. Clive Reville, the original Emperor Palpatine from Empire Strikes Back. Tim Rose, Hamdul Akbar from Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. Deep Roy, who is a band member of Droop New Cool's band. Of course, the new R2-D2, Jimmy V, will be there. Billy D. Williams.
Whoa!
Yeah, he'll be there as well. And then Vanessa Marshall, who I'm very excited to see.
That's cool.
Alan Tudyk and Taylor Gray will be there. So, of course, Alan Tudyk is K2SO, and Taylor Gray is everyone's favorite young Jedi, Ezra Bridger from Rebels. Yeah. So, of those new those announcements, any of them you're particularly excited to go see?
I'm kind of liking the Garrick Hagen, and Ray Park. I got my photo with him, and so that's kind of on my radar to get him to sign at least under his side of that photo at some point. And Clive Reville, that's kind of a rare one, and he's not really getting out there as much. So that might be something that completists are really kind of interested in finding. But Deep Roy, he's been in a lot of stuff. He's a really great guy. His name's always kind of made me feel a little uncomfortable. But, these are some great additions. And, of course, Taylor Gray and Vanessa Marshall are always wonderful. So,
Yeah.
man, I just don't know. I'd literally would have to flip a coin or roll some dice or something.
Well, I'll say this. After we discussed the prices for Felicity Jones, who is apparently sold out at this point, so you can't get an op or an autograph with her any longer.
Wow.
But these prices are a little more reasonable by comparison. On the more expensive side, you have Peter Mayhew at $60 each for a autograph and a photo op, $100, $120 total. And Billy D. Williams, of course, is a bit more expensive at $60 for the autograph, $70 for the photo, and $130 total. But then, you get, I think the highest on this list was Alan Tudyk at $65 for the autograph, $75 for the photo, and $140 for both. Oh, yeah. But, if you're interested in Rebels, you can get Taylor Gray's autograph for $35, Vanessa Marshall's for $25. So there are some more affordable opportunities compared to the big names that we talked about earlier.
And I am interested in Rebels, very much so.
We do know that. All right. So what else is going
Taylor
on?
Gray's hair has gotten longer as Ezra's has gotten shorter?
Yes, I have seen that in the Rebels Recon videos.
Well, in addition to the additions in the autograph hall, we've got some other featured guests, including Steve Blank from Lucasfilm Story Group, Pablo Hidalgo himself, creative executive for Lucasfilm, Matt Martin, Lucasfilm Story Group, Rain Roberts, creative executive from Lucasfilm, Gus Lopez, creator of the Star Wars Collector's Archive. Yeah, so they're going to be there, and it looks like it's kind of some more Lucasfilm behind-the-scenes heavy hitters, right?
Yeah, I suspect you're going to see most of these people at panels. I don't really know that they're autograph opportunities. I would find it fascinating to talk to Pablo Hidalgo, any of them really, because they're all fairly involved with what's going on in Star Wars films. Like, I guess, exception of Gus Lopez, he's more of a collector, which, hey, that would be quite an interesting discussion for a lot of people. So they'll be there.
I have a Matt Martin rookie card.
Great. Okay. Well, in other news, Frank Diorio's Diorama Workshop, try saying that a few times fast, is returning to Celebration. In Orlando, they will be recreating the iconic ILM Death Star surface used to film the New Hope climax VFX shots. Once complete, builders will be able to race Hot Wheels ships down a 32-foot long, 6-lane Death Star trench run.
Rad.
Okay. I confess, I don't completely understand what's going on here. All I know is that this has got its own page, or most of its own page on the Star Wars Celebration website. He's got a 15-year history with Celebration, creating these gigantic dioramas. This sounds very cool and very interesting, but I don't really understand the whole builders with the Hot Wheels thing. But so do you have any insight on that one?
Well, yeah, it's racing Hot Wheels. I mean, just, fun, right? No, I think it's like I think he's got like a track, and it's specially, and it lights up and does all the stuff. And I think there's like the little exhaust port. I think I saw a picture of this the other day. So, it's fun. It sounds more like something kind of eventy, to say that he did, sort of like sitting on the speeder mock-up, And so yeah, if I went by, I probably would not be someone to actually seek it out. But if I was there, I'd be like, oh, I'm going to check it out and see what's going on. And other than that, I really, really recommend that people take some Pepto-Bismol or something, because you do not want to get diorama while you're at Celebration.
Yeah, could have done without that part of of your tips. But anyway, so what else do you have for us?
Oh, well, we've got a special edition of the upcoming Thrawn novel by Timothy Zahn. It's going to be made available exclusively at Celebration. The standard format of the novel features a jacket that was half of Thrawn's face on the front and back covers. So if you opened it up, I guess it'd be like his full Thrawn,
Well, except for the binding.
Yeah.
It has the name of the book on it, yeah. Anyway.
That's true. Well, say that's a tattoo. The Celebration exclusive cover has his face full in the front and Thrawn posing on the back. Although the cover is different, the content of the novel is the same as the standard edition. So, yeah, that's pretty neat. That's a nice little keepsake. Now, that is something that I would be interested in hunting down, especially if you're going to get it autographed.
Yeah, I suppose. If my copy of Thrawn shows up before Celebration, I may bring it with me to try and get it autographed there. Here's what I was thinking when I heard about this with these alternate covers. I was thinking of the variant covers with comic books, and it's already a bit absurd that, you know, as comic book collectors, a lot of us go out and we spend $4 or $5 for all these different variant versions of a comic book, and you know, now we're getting multiple variants of these novels where, you know, with the cover, and so you're talking $16, $20, $25. So you know, how is this just the beginning of this trend, or are we going to start seeing a lot more of this? So anyways, that's just my tangent on that news.
I feel like this is just because of Celebration. Timothy Zahn's going to be there. Mainly.
Yeah, but I didn't. Well, Barnes & Noble also has a variant cover of this book.
Right.
Right. It's the same cover, except for I think instead of the white background, it's a black background or a darker background. So that's what I'm getting at. It's, you know, comic book stores have variant covers. You know, different retailers and, you know, your subscription boxes have variant covers for things.
Sure.
And so, you know, how far is this going to go? But I don't want to get off on that tangent. This is a Celebration discussion. So, you know, it's not on my list of things to pick up there, but I might consider it. I mean, it would be great to get Timothy Zahn's autograph. And especially if that had some sort of a Celebration stamp on it, that would be a great souvenir from the event.
That'd be cool.
Okay, well, we had a few other things that were just announced today as we're prior to us recording this, and so I'm going to hit those quickly. As if there was any doubt, Dave Filoni is bringing a Rebels panel to Celebration on April 15th. He and special guests will be previewing the recently announced 4th season of Rebels. Exactly who these guests are remains a mystery. However, we just discussed in the autograph section that Vanessa Marshall and Taylor Gray are going to be there. Probably a safe bet to say that they're going to be at this panel.
Probably.
Yeah. So that's fantastic. I might make an extra effort to try and get into that. And then speaking of Vanessa Marshall, it was announced on the Disney Park blog that she will be the host of Inside the Saga, celebrity chat show at the Star Wars Galactic Nights.
Oh, cool.
So apparently they're going to have 3 or 4 showings of this show. She's going to be the host, and other Star Wars celebrities will be showing up to talk about things. I think they're going to have a lot of Rogue One stuff with that. And then some other Galactic Nights announcements. BB-8 is going to be making his debut at the launch bay, so you can get your picture taken with him.
That's cool.
And then Galactic Night stars in a Cars motorcade will be driving down Hollywood Boulevard. So various Star Wars celebrities will be apparently doing a Hollywood Hollywood parade type thing, you know, where they ride down in cars. I'm going to just put a word of caution on that.
Sure.
I've kind of noticed that through things like the Disney Cruise Line and such, that the term celebrity, heck, even we do it, gets thrown around a little loosely. So I wouldn't necessarily be expecting to see Mark Hamill and Felicity Jones and Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, and all of them coming down in this motorcade. It could be Pablo Hidalgo. It could be Matt Martin. Not that there's anything wrong with them, but I think when we think celebrity, we tend to think of the stars of the movies. So, you know, maybe Dave Filoni would be a more realistic expectation, or the other stars of Rebels. So, anyways, there's that.
So, could you remind me what the Galactic Nights?
Sure, that is the exclusive, separately ticketed event at Disney's Hollywood Studios, taking place on the 14th. And so you buy a separate ticket, and the event starts at 7 o'clock and runs to midnight. It's a smaller capacity crowd that is there with all these extra Star Wars things going on. The Star Wars shows, most of the attractions are open, not all of them, but so.
Why didn't they just call it Galactic Night then?
Because I think they're actually going to do it again later.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a Star Wars Weekend type thing, but there's Disney has these separately ticketed events like the Not So Scary Halloween party over at the Magic Kingdom, their Christmas parties and such, and so there is this thought that we may be seeing the Galactic Nights occur again at some point in the future.
Because you said she's going to do 4 of them. Right.
She's going to do 4 of these discussions during that one night.
4. Okay, gotcha.
Yep. Right.
Well, she's good. I like her hosting abilities.
All right. Well, the one last thing I want to touch on from Galactic Knights is the Imperial March, which is described as Darth Vader leading a battalion of stormtroopers down Hollywood Boulevard. I'm more excited for that than I am for the motorcade. So that I think could be pretty cool. I already know Captain Phasma leads a contingent of First Order stormtroopers through Hollywood studios. That's cool. This is a regular park occurrence, but this I don't know if this is 501st members or how they're putting this together, but that sounds pretty awesome.
That's a good question. I'm going to see if I can find that out.
All right. Well, that is a look at this week's updates on Celebration. Scoundrels, like I said earlier, we are a month away. We're really excited. We hope to see you there. All right, for this week's hypothetical, we are going to take a look at Empire's End, which is the third book in the Aftermath trilogy by Chuck Wendig. And sound the spoiler alarm, because this is going to be a spoiler-filled discussion. Okay. I don't know that we're going to get into depth on everything here, but we're going to kind of hit some of the major points that come at the end of this book, because they tend to set up a lot more that's going on in the rest of the Star Wars galaxy. Right. So really, let's just get to it. This book is about the Battle of Jakku and how all those Star Destroyers crashed on Jakku, that we saw in The Force Awakens, how they got there. Yeah. So with that, Taxus, 60 seconds or so. What do you think? What'd you think of this book?
I thought this book had a lot more compelling action sequences in it. I thought it didn't really leave me too in the details of setup, and with good reason. We've already had two other books. We know who the characters are. We know what they're doing and what they're about. Hopefully, if you didn't read them, I guess you might not know. So, and frankly, the whole liberation of Kashyyyk, that was the big event in the last one. And yeah, you're right. We were all really, really looking forward to reading this one because it's going to tell us what happened to, why is all that wreckage around Jakku? Why was Jakku even important in the first place?
Exactly. Well, let's get a few of the early plot points in this novel out of the way. So Nora Wexley and her merry band of Imperial hunters are basically trying to finish out their careers. And after the last novel, it looked like they might be going their own ways, but they're dedicated themselves to tracking down Rey Sloane. And so they get this bead on that she's at Jakku, and they head out there. Basically, are stopped because there's the entirety of the Imperial fleet. Right. And in the confusion and their attempt to escape, Nora Wexley ejects herself in an escape pod, but not before
Jazz jumps in on her.
Jazz Amiri can jump in there, and then Timon, also known as Snap, tells Mr. Bones to go out the other escape pod. So they're there on Jakku, and they're trying to track down Rey Sloane.
I thought that was kind of selfish too. Maybe it was insane. Maybe it was temporary insanity or something, but sure, it propels the story, but yeah.
Well, no one could say that Nora's not driven. But and then the other plot line we got going on is that once they get back, and there's this discovery that the Empire is at Jakku, and so the Republic has this opportunity to round up their fleet and go there and wipe out the Empire, put an end to this war. And for whatever reason, the vote fails. Now, the backdrop to this as well is that the chancellorship is up for election soon. Right. And so Mon Mothma is going up against Senator known as Tolwar Wartal.
Orishan, I believe.
Yeah. And so there's some political intrigue there. Basically, the Black Sun and other criminal organizations have kind of got their fingers into this, that, having imperial control and having this war going on is good for business. And so anyway, that's kind of a backdrop there. But eventually they, Snap and Sinjir and others and Han Solo kind of work behind the scenes, discover this little plot that's going on, and free the senators to vote with their conscience. And so the war is going to go to Jakku.
So can I ask you a question real quick about that whole side story with Black Sun and Red Arrow? What was it? Red Key. That's right. Do you feel like that was really needed?
Not so much for the story. I mean, if the point of the story is to get us to what happens at the Battle of Jakku, it wasn't completely necessary. However, I'm kind of wondering if the Red Key Raiders are not going to feature into what's going on later, maybe not even The Last Jedi, but in upcoming films or the third movie. And I say that for this reason. I know Rian Johnson had some input into the Bloodline novel, and the napkin that warns off Princess Leia before the bomb goes off there. And so I kind of wonder if that some of the things that don't happen in this book aren't hints or for what's going to happen in Last Jedi, or maybe whatever episode 9 is, simply because prior to The Force Awakens, we had all those novels that came out that were billed as the road to the Force Awakens, the journey to the Force Awakens, with hints and and clues about what's going to go on in that movie. And I wouldn't put them past some of this stuff maybe featuring in this whole idea of senatorial corruption that we saw with Tolvar Wartol and others coming into play, that helps create this fragmented republic that allows things like the First Order to rise.
Yes. Okay. That's a good point.
Okay. Well, so now we've got kind of all the pieces in place. One other detail that I'm just going to go over because I absolutely loved it. Mr. Bones finally tracks down where Nora is. She's being held prisoner on Jakku, but then the stormtroopers basically blow them into pieces. They're in front of her, and they put a restraining bolt on them. But it was a little skitter mouse that removes the restraining bolt because it would make a good plug for its nest, which then allows the remains of Bones, I guess his torso and his head, to kind of go into its self-repair mode, and he pulls himself back together. I don't know. It was I for some reason thought that Nora was going to have more to do with getting him back together, but
she was completely worthless at that point in time. She was broken and beaten, and especially seeing him shot to pieces in front of her did nothing to help out. But I thought it was really interesting when he was rebooting, going through all the memories and such, and he seemed to have memories of the Clone Wars, especially from the vantage point of maybe part of him was part of General Grievous or something at some point.
Yeah, because he had that memory about waving multiple lightsabers at the same time. So that was fascinating. And HK-47 or something like that, because he had that whole... which is not canon that we know of right now, but some sort of the way he phrased that one terminology and eliminating meat bags or something like that. That was I like that part too.
Interesting. Yeah.
You're right. So again, that was just a part that stuck out to me. And then of course Nema the Hutt figures into this, where that Nema is what the Nema Outpost is named after, and she was just bizarre.
Yeah, that was I was kind of, I don't know. I guess I was second guessing it, but I thought maybe Leia might run into Nema because she's not really. She even admits that she's really pregnant and everything, but I just thought she'd love choking a Hutt again.
Good point. But so Nema basically helps out Rey, and then later Nora and Jas get to this observatory. So let's turn the conversation to there. Okay. So this observatory was hinted at in the previous book, in Life Debt, and it was Palpatine's project, and he kind of recruited Gaius Rax from Jakku to oversee what was going on there. And so the mystery has been, what is this building? What is the purpose of this observatory? There's been a lot of speculation that it's a cloning facility, or that it's got some sort of a super weapon in it that's going to be used against the Republic. And we're skipping an awful lot here to get to this point, but it's kind of a big one. But the point of it is that Palpatine was talking to Gaius Rex when he was a child about this chess game that they've been playing, and that there was two key pieces, the Outcast and the Imperator, I believe is what they were called, and that the only one that really matters is the Imperator, and once that character goes down and it is destroyed or captured, the game's over. And why is that? Because the rest of them are essentially pawns. Their only purpose is to make sure that the Imperator survives, and if he does not, then the rest of them do not survive as well, which leads us to what Gaius Rax's mission is. If the Emperor dies, he's supposed to destroy the rest of the Empire.
I'm not sure what to think about that, except for Palpatine being a super narcissist. which again is contrary. I guess you kind of understand why Gaius, right? Yeah. I guess you understand why he doesn't want Sloane to succeed. You know, that he understands the end game is to destroy, well, everything. He doesn't even mind the Republic knowing that the fleet's there, because isn't that part of his purpose?
Exactly. He lured them there. His whole point was to, he rounded up the Empire. He led them all to believe he had some super plan that was going to restore the Empire. So he got them all at Jakku, so essentially they could be eliminated.
Right.
And Gaius Rex was taking it the next step further, was he wanted to bring the Republic there as well, so he could defeat them too. Basically wiping the table clean, resetting the game.
Right.
Because the observatory have a second purpose, which was to kind of probe the regions of this unknown space. Because Palpatine has been receiving or detecting another dark side presence there, possibly the source of the dark side. And with the game reset, the idea was that they would rebuild an empire of some sort in these unknown regions, possibly, at the core wherever the dark side is. So what do you think about this? This is introducing some thoughts that could be serious hints as to what's going on with The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi.
Yeah, like Snoke is what he was receiving as the signal, basically. Yeah. Or maybe some dark side form and Snoke happens to take advantage of it. So I guess one of my thoughts I had about this is, if he wanted to basically eliminate the Empire, why even have a contingency? Well, I mean, survive out in the outer region.
Well, I think the idea was that, it was to essentially start the game over, and he needed some peace. And initially that was going to be Gaius Rax, who was going to be the new Imperator, but we'll get to that in a second. So it wasn't going to be Gaius Rax. It ends up being somebody else. But it wasn't so much that he was willing to let the Republic stick around. He wanted everyone destroyed, and then the Empire built up someplace else, and then come back over to take over this galaxy. I had a hard time telling from this description if these unknown regions were within the galaxy or outside the galaxy. The descriptions kind of made it sound like both at times. Because they sent a number of probes forward, to the edges of the galaxy, and they wouldn't come back, or they'd make progress and then they'd lose them, and they kept, basically exploring their way throughout there. But then I was thinking of, The Force Awakens, and we have all these unknown regions on the other side of the galaxy, which is why they couldn't find Luke, because they didn't have any maps that matched up with anything.
That's a good point. I think they said it was like mid-rim or something, like maybe. So I seem to remember it being like, I'm trying to remember what book I was looking at, but the map of the galaxy, it's sort of like Pac-Man, You have the core worlds, you've got the mid-rim, and you got the outer rim, okay? But then you have a section of space extending from the core worlds, and right around the mid-rim, it's like the wild regions, the unexplored section of the galaxy,
Right.
I seem to remember it being like that, so that might be why. Like, it's close enough to visit, but for any number of reasons. Yeah,
so at the end of the last novel, In Life Debt, Nora Wexley's husband, Brenton, had, he'd been freed from that Imperial prison, but then he was essentially a sleeper agent. He and the other prisoners there got activated, and they attacked Mon Mothma and various other Republic officials on Liberation Day on that platform. And then afterwards, Brenton essentially wanted to get to the bottom of what happened to him and what was going on, so he joined up with Ray Sloane to get revenge against Gaius Rax, which is why he's with her on Jakku. Then eventually Nora catches up with them, and so the three of them kind of create this team to take out Gaius Rax. And so at the observatory, Gaius Rax sets the final steps of the destruction of the Empire in motion when he takes Counselor Teshu, which is that dark side advisor to Palpatine. Yeah, exactly. And he gives him, a dark side helmet, and basically says, the Emperor wanted you to have this, and feel the power. And then he sends him out on that bridge, which overlooked like went down to the planet core and then shoved him over into the core.
Yeah, that was great. And I thought that was a good end for him because he kind of, nobody likes groupies like that. He was creep. He was definitely creepy. But that dark side device is what started the catalyst, right?
Yeah, the catalyst of Jakku, which was going to take out the Empire, because the entire Empire was there at this point, and then it was also designed to cripple the Republic because their fleet was going to be was in orbit.
Right. That's kind of interesting because it's sort of mixture of technological and supernatural, right?
Yeah, I don't know. This observatory was interesting because it had all these purposes, which was it map these unknown regions. It was the lure to get the Empire there. They were led to believe that there was something, that their victory, their salvation was here on Jakku. Gaius Rax gives that frothing at the mouth speech to the Empire to get them all geared up for the arrival of the Republic fleet. It reminded me a lot of Hux's speech from The Force Awakens.
Yes.
Really got them all keyed up. And of course, it was all nonsense. I mean, he was he was getting them fired up to take the fight to their basically to distract them. Yeah. Because he had this in store that he was going to destroy the planet, take them out with it. And the way he described it was it was going to take out everything. It was that this corruption was going to spread from Jakku to throughout the galaxy, and basically a scorched Earth. Yeah. Policy on a galactic scale.
Wow. It's sort of like that James Bond movie Moonraker. You hear that, Michael? Right. Where the villain's plan was just to eliminate humanity and restart, with something. But weren't there multiple observatories?
There was discussion of multiple observatories, but I don't think any of the others had this purpose, this dual purpose that this one did.
So do you think Jakku itself was special because for some reason it could unleash this potential destructive energy?
That's a possibility. I kind of got the feeling that Jakku was, it's out there in the western reaches, and I think it kind of is in that area that borders more closely to these unknown regions, which is why it had such importance to Palpatine, because I think he set up enough of these observatories to probe into this, trying to find this dark side signal that apparently only he could detect. It was undetectable to Darth Vader and other dark side and other Force users.
Yeah. Well, maybe, and this is too, blowing it up here, that eliminates any chance of anybody figuring out where they went.
The whole point was that Gaius Rax was then going to take some remnant of the Empire with him, go out to these unknown regions and rebuild the Empire. Well, Ray Sloan and with Nora's help, after Brenton is given a fatal wound, shoots Gaius, and so he's dying, and he turns over that responsibility to her. So Ray Sloan is supposed to be the shepherd of this new Empire, and which was fitting because she spent the entire last two novels referring to the Empire as her empire. Right. And she was more than furious with Gaius from stealing it from her, and so she takes herself. There's a new Imperialis, which was the yacht that Lando stole in the Lando comic series. So that was a nice tie-in. And she
makes reference to that.
That there was a number of these yachts, and that he Palpatine typically made them repositories for dark side artifacts.
That's where it mentioned the other observatories. That's right, where the other yachts are still.
Right, so they're heading out into the unknown regions with this yacht, and it's Ray Sloan, and then she's got the Elder Hux and Armitage Hux, who Gaius Rax turned over kind of his elite core of children that he'd been kidnapping all those years, that he turned into those elite stormtroopers. So this really does seem like the birth of the First Order. In fact, when they happen upon the Eclipse, which is the last Super Star Destroyer that's been that's unaccounted for, there's that one the pirates have, it's out there. They get aboard, and she says something to the effect of, this will be our first order to rebuild this empire. Right. And so you get that term, which was a nice touch. And these children, Gaius Rax had demonstrated their capabilities. He basically turned out the lights, and they wiped out a whole contingency of stormtroopers without breaking a sweat. And they are utterly loyal to Armitage Hux now because Gaius turned them over to him. Is this how they train like Finn?
I was wondering that. Like, are we to extrapolate that Finn is from Jakku, or or are these kids gathered from all over, from different planets?
Finn didn't strike me as being old enough from having been from Jakku, and I can't imagine he would not have understood that planet or been so helpless on it if he was originally from there. So I think that was the founding of that training program, but Finn had to be from someplace else.
So I wonder if there's like human civilizations, for example, out in the unknown regions, and that's where they've been taking people, or have they been basically performing covert raids into the New Republic to steal kids?
Well, here's another element to think about that. Where's Thrawn from?
Yeah, because they haven't actually said the Chiss ascendancy, have they?
No, but he's, there was a reference to Thrawn in this book, how he was from this unknown area of the galaxy, and in Gaius Rax's opinion, that's the only reason why Palpatine kept him around, because he understood that space.
Wow. It's kind of validating a lot of people's opinions on Rebels Season 3 about Thrawn, isn't it? But I don't know. I don't have that opinion, but
Well, I found that fascinating, and I suspect we're going to learn a whole lot more about this when the Thrawn novel comes out next month. But I really like this. I really like the direction this is all going. It seems, Bloodline laid down certain elements for the establishment of the First Order, but this book laid down a lot of details, or at least a lot of thoughts and things to chew on about the birth of the First Order. I think you're right. I think it's possible that they may have seeded some of these areas with people that they kidnapped from other areas of the galaxy, and that people like Finn are their offspring. I don't think Finn is old enough to have been from Jakku. But this entire program was established with Hux and Gaius Rax. So this is how they're going to train their new soldiers going forward. So
let me ask you something. Way back when you first read A New Dawn, did you, in any way, shape, or form, think that Rey Sloane was going to become the progenitor of the First Order?
No, not a chance. She seemed like a capable starship captain back then, and I thought this was a character that would. At least in that novel, she seemed like someone who was going to be around. They'll show up from time to time in stories as a starship captain. Yeah. I never envisioned her becoming the person of importance that she turned out to be. It just,
the founder,
you want to talk about
basically.
Well, talk about tying such different eras of Star Wars together. It's just that I didn't think anyone from this Rebels timeline was going to be, tied that directly with the First Order.
Right. I think that's pretty cool, actually. And it's really neat. I wonder how far back this decision was made that she was going to be the one.
That's a good point. I don't know. And it could have been made completely independent of the movies. Because she doesn't show up there. I can't help but wonder. Speaking of other characters, Captain Phasma. Do you think she was one of the children that was there at Jakku? She kind of struck me. There was a young woman that was in that group that seemed particularly brutal. I was wondering if that was Phasma.
That would would be about right. I mean, what is this? 28 years after? I mean, 28 years before episode. Because Kylo Ren's 28.
Yeah, he was just born during the course of this novel.
Right, so. on the Armistice Day or whatever it's called, where they signed the treaty.
Right. Well, I think we kind of hit some of the high points that we wanted to talk about here. This book, like its two predecessors, had a number of interludes as well. Did you have a particular favorite amongst those?
I think I liked the Tatooine interlude.
Oh, with Freetown?
Yeah, I liked that. And I kind of liked the Jar Jar one.
Yeah, I want to go to the Freetown one for a second, though. Sure. I kept expecting some sort of a Boba Fett revelation with that storyline. It started in the first Aftermath book, and then they touched upon it with the Rancor Beast trainer in the last novel, in Life Debt. And then, of course, they kind of brought that story to something of a conclusion here, where he's still Cobb Vanth is the leader of that that mayor / sheriff of Freetown, and they've been rounding up essentially Tatooinian refugees and establishing a new civilization there. And their key rivals, the Red Key Raiders, which we also know are attempting to influence galactic politics. But so Cobb came up with that I think it's Boba Fett's armor. It seems that they got it out of the Sarlacc. We know that much. The Jawas recovered it from there, and he made himself the sheriff, and he's using the armor, and then he made an alliance with the Tusken Raiders, which was, I didn't see that.
That was interesting. Yeah.
And so once the Red Key Raiders have kind of taken over Freetown, which ended up being a trap, they lured him in, and then the Tuskens showed up and wiped him out. But I was just, I don't know, maybe I was hoping. I don't consider myself the biggest Boba Fett fan, but I was kind of hoping that, with that armor around, that he was somehow going to be tied into all that.
Like, maybe he had some sort of epiphany, and really Cobb Vanth was just a pseudonym, that he had assumed just
that
because,
would have been a possibility, or that this perhaps Cobb Vanth was some other Mandalorian that had came to look after Jango and Boba's effects. I don't know. I could. There are endless possibilities, but I was just kind of hoping there would be some sort of a tie-in there, but it doesn't have to be.
Do you think that, for all intents and purposes, this means Boba Fett is no more?
Well, no, I don't. I think they deliberately left it vague enough so they could decide what they want to do with Boba Fett in the future. There's, of course, years ago we had rumors of a Boba Fett movie coming.
Right.
Never said when it was going to be set. It could be set between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. It could be around the time The Empire Strikes Back. It could be his road to redemption after Return of the Jedi, for all we know. And they just didn't, they didn't want to tell that story here.
And something about the marking, the slave marking on his neck. I started wondering, okay, is there anything like that with Boba Fett? Like, was there something? Some sort of, I don't remember if there was any sort of connection or whatever to slavery at a certain point in time where.
Not that I can remember. At this point, he was an unaltered clone of Jango.
Right. And
then when Jango died, he kind of took over the, Slave One and his armor and, grew up as a bounty hunter. I don't think there was ever any thought that he got sold into slavery at any point. So, well, I want to touch on one other interlude real quick. The reintroduction of Lumpawaru, Chewbacca's son. When he had that reunion with Chewbacca on Kashyyyk. I kind of like that. It was, I guess I expected, we knew Chewbacca had a family that was out there somewhere, but I was a little surprised that they went with the Lumpawaru direction again.
Yeah, because wasn't that name established in the holiday?
Yep, the holiday special. Yeah, and then Lumpy became a fairly recurring character in the New Jedi Order and other novels.
That's right.
That post Return of the Jedi novels. So,
I thought that was nice. I thought it was pretty cool and fun to see him reunited. I guess we still don't know who the wife might be, but I don't know.
I think they said Mala had perished.
Oh, okay.
Anyway. And then, of course, there is the infamous Jar Jar interlude that's been all over social media. I kind of liked it. I don't think it was, I thought it was a nice place to leave him. He's kind of, where Yoda put himself directly into exile on Dagobah, for the greater good of the galaxy. Jar Jar has kind of accepted that, through, he was manipulated and some of his actions didn't make things better for the galaxy, but he's not going to let that stop him. He's going to continue to do what he can to make a difference, and he's decided to focus on orphan children. I'm good with that.
Yeah, in a way, I felt really, really kind of made me feel really sad for him.
Really?
Yeah, because especially since he's been banned from his hometowns, right?
Oh, Otogunga, yeah.
And he's not really shunned, but nobody really gives him any deference, any of the adults in Naboo and Theed, right? And I guess the reason, to me, Wendig putting that in there, that he says that, well, it might be because I had something to do with creating the Empire, is the reason why nobody likes him, in there. And it I guess to everybody, myself included, that argues that Jar Jar, was basically the one that helped usher in the Empire. It's just kind of, I don't know, it's a little melancholy to me. It's sort of like, oh, poor guy, which he's doing. I mean, if you look at him too, as like a clown, as he's kind of purposefully being goofy and stuff like that, not as he's just a character that's just dumb, like can't think, or just doesn't know any better. I think that kind of changes to me, it does a little bit of a retcon into why he acted the way he acted. He was,
I don't know. I
being a little goofy on purpose, but.
Well, I mean, here he was being goofy on purpose because he was trying to entertain kids. I kind of liked it. It seems like he's accepted his place in the universe. He doesn't blame anyone. He's fairly optimistic.
Right. I liked it. Don't get me wrong. I liked it. I just felt sorry for him.
All right. Well, I think we kind of hit the points we wanted to talk about here on this review. So you want to give it an overall thought and grade? Yeah, I thought, I wasn't necessarily blown away with the Secret of Jakku, you might say. I thought it was a good little ending to the story. It tied up a lot of loose ends. It tied up some loose ends from other stories. I would say that the whole Rey Sloane connection, that's super awesome. That made it. That was probably the coolest thing when you think about the totality of her story. Right. To me, and plus, the fact that the whole purpose was to establish the First Order. So in a way, the First Order is still an extension of Palpatine's will. Right. Well, so what kind of grade are you going to give it? I'd give it, I'll give it a high 80s, maybe like an 88. Okay. So. Well, for me, it was, I thought it took a little while to get going. I was glad to get to read more about Sinjir and Jess and that entire group. I've come to really like this group. They've grown on me quite a bit since the original Aftermath. Yeah. As we discussed, I thought Rey Sloane's inclusion and the direction they went with her was a lot of fun. I like the way that turned out. I really did like the twist on Jakku. I was afraid that they were going to leave us hanging on that one. We were going to have this entire battle of Jakku, and then there was going to be something left out there that we would be stuck debating for the next 9 months while we waited for The Last Jedi. Yeah. And then, that was going to have something to do with Rey's parentage or whatever. But I like this idea, and I thought it was especially clever, the analogy that they had drawn between, Palpatine with the chess game and what's supposed to happen to the Empire afterwards. So it had a satisfying conclusion to me. Like I said, I'm marking it down simply because I just felt that after we already had 2 previous novels building up to this one, we didn't need as much backstory as we got here. But I'm going to give it a 92. So good, solid A- for me. Well, Scoundrels, we want to hear what you think. So if you've read Empire's End, let us know what your thoughts were and what your favorite parts were. And maybe, if you had a great favorite interlude, then what that was. And you can email us at sqpod@retrozap.com.
The Ghost is a very nice ship. I could probably...
Forget it.
I'm kidding, of course. But I do need a ship.
It is time for some Rebels. This week, we are looking at Double Agent Droid. So Taxus, sound the spoiler alert, and here is the episode summary. When Wedge, acting undercover, escorts AP-5 and Chopper to an Imperial outpost to retrieve Lothal access codes, an Imperial controller aboard an Imperial listening ship identifies Chopper. The controller then takes over Chopper in an attempt to discover the location of the Rebel base. However, when Wedge and the droids rendezvous with Hera and the Ghost, Chopper's polite behavior gives him away. The controller uses Chopper to trap the rebels in the cargo hold, where Chopper attempts to flush them into space. They survive, and eventually AP-5 completes a spacewalk before Chopper can transmit the coordinates to the rebels' base to the Empire. Hera then turns the tables on the Imperials and feeds back power to the listening ship, which causes an overload and the destruction of their listening devices. Okay, so that is a very basic summary of this episode. This is a bit more comedic than what we're used to in Rebels. Usually, any one given episode is prone to have a few jokes or funny moments in it that I can think of. But this one, I think it relied a bit more on the comedy than usual. Kind of, yeah, you're right. Usually it's incidental humor.
right? It's things sort of like looks like you managed to cut off our only escape route, that kind of stuff, you know?
Right, exactly.
I enjoyed this episode for the comedic elements. You know, I understand it might be viewed as just kind of, well, it could be viewed as throwaway, but let's face it, it did propel the story. They did get the access codes, right?
Exactly.
Or the clearance codes, and they needed that. Furthermore, it gave us a little twist. It gave us some new elements of the Empire that we previously didn't know existed, which are these ships that are basically spy ships, listening outposts. Mobile listening outposts. I touch on something you said real quick before we move on to that. Sure.
But this whole idea that this is or is not a filler episode, in a way, this kind of reminds me of Rogue One's relationship to A New Hope.
Okay.
In that they were going after these Lothal access codes or clearance codes or whatever they were, and which I think they are going to be needed for this impending attack on Lothal that the rebellion is planning. And so, much in the same way Rogue One was the story about how the rebellion came up with the plans to the Death Star, this is, again, one of the elements. This is how the rebellion came up with one of the elements for their attack on Lothal. So, was it a dire story? Sure, no. Could we done without it? Yeah, perhaps. But, I hesitate to label it with that filler label, even though Dave Filoni essentially did as much in the Rebels Recon that corresponds to this episode.
See, I thought it did have a little bit of a dire moment. I mean, I could see the gun on the wall, so to speak, when they were all on the cargo hold on the Ghost.
Oh, that's not what I meant. I think what I was meant is that,
right.
Getting these codes was not something they had to explain to us. So, it was, they didn't even have to make a mission with dire consequences attached to it or dire stakes in it.
Right.
But yes, you're right. There were dire moments in this. But, okay, so next thing you brought up was we had this controller aboard the listening ship, which was voiced by Josh Gad, which is kind of funny considering how much trouble he's given Daisy Ridley lately about the secrets of the Last Jedi. So what did you think about these guys?
I thought it was kind of reminiscent of something like a mix of Tron and the Black Hole, where they're very unemotional and they're just matter-of-factual and they're all calculating. It looks like they all have those implants in their heads.
Kind of like Sibo did from the first season.
Yeah, or Lobot or something.
Right.
I was really excited because it introduced Star Wars glasses.
Yeah,
so
it sure did. Well, and Vanessa Marshall did the voice of one of those listeners on that show.
Yeah.
Which was
that's right.
I don't recall her really getting much voice work in the series outside of Hera. Steve Bloom and Freddie Prinze Jr. Regularly get to do other voices, but she hasn't had as many opportunities for that. But okay, so we have this guy, and we got the glasses, which is nice because I wear glasses. But Chopper and AP5 are having this competition about, they had that Annie get your gun reference. Anything you can do, I can do better. No, you can't. Yes, I can. They basically burst into song on the way there while they're with Wedge, and then AP5 just waltzes into a room after telling another sentry droid that you've been relieved. I'm supposed to be here. Picks up the plans. So I don't know, that seemed a bit too easy. I suppose that you could view that as part of the Imperial's trap. There is that they were, this controller was wrapped up in the idea of finding the rebels' base once he figured out who Chopper was.
Right.
And so, but still, it just seemed, I don't know, to me that seemed like it should have been a red flag. How easy they came away with those codes.
Well, and I guess in retrospect, really, AP could have just done it by himself, like you said. You didn't necessarily need Chopper there. And I think that the whole element, well, maybe that is it. Maybe that's the point. Maybe the point is that AP is capable of doing these spy missions, and because he knows all the protocols, he knows what to do, he knows where to go, he knows how to get it. He even tells Chopper, he's like, "Oh, you're not going to get it that way. Here, I'll go get him. I'll be right back."
Right.
I thought Wedge was kind of an interesting choice. I like it because it's sort of like a blank canvas of a character interacting with these two. If we had anybody else, we would know how they would react. You know what I'm saying? How they would interact
Sure.
with the droids.
I mean, I like the choice of Wedge also because I think he added some, he was, fairly fresh out of the Imperial Academy, just having escaped and so he's not going to be as recognizable. Yeah, it's suspected in some corners Ezra and Kanan and the rest of them are going to begin to become recognizable to the Imperials around that place. But let's flash ahead just a bit, because they get the plans. Chopper's been commandeered, so to speak, while using that access panel, and so they're on their shuttle on the way back to the rendezvous with the Ghost, and Chopper's being way too polite, and AP5 is essentially on to him that there's something wrong from the get-go, but no one will listen to AP5 or believe him.
I wonder how they talked through Chopper. Were they just like giving him commands or something to say in whatever the language that astromechs use, or
I really hadn't thought about that, but that's a good point.
Because he definitely was communicating. Yeah,
right. One of the more comedic moments, Wedge excuses himself to go to the fresher, the bathroom. So freshers are now an official canon term.
That's right.
And then AP5 follows him into the bathroom and says, "Oh, that was very clever. Now we can talk about Chopper."
You even hear the zipper start to unzip.
Right. A little bathroom humor, which a little strange.
Am I bothering you by standing here behind you like this?
breaking the cardinal rule that when you're in the men's room, you don't talk to anybody to your left or right. But so then they rendezvous with the Ghost, and Chopper doesn't waste too much time by trapping them in the cargo hold and attempting to flush them out into space, which they managed to prevent.
Which AP tried to warn them.
Right. And Chopper's implanted the spike into the Ghost and is transmitting data back to these, this listening ship. And okay, here's one of my criticisms of this episode. Why didn't Ezra just pull out his lightsaber and free them from being trapped in that? There was just a grate over the cargo hold. I'm not. Is he just not carrying it, or what was? And if so, why? I mean, he was wearing a blaster. There isn't any reason that I can think of he shouldn't have had his lightsaber around.
That's a good question. I don't know. I'd have to go back and see. I imagine they thought of that, hopefully, and worked it in.
I watched it twice, and I don't recall them saying something, but I'm willing to admit that I could be overlooking.
Like maybe he's just not got it on his belt or something. I mean,
I didn't notice if it was there or not, but again, there's no reason not for him to have it there, in the Ghost, and but be that as it may, and and it was also a bit convenient that something fishy is going on, so let's all go to the cargo hold and investigate.
I know. It's like the anti-Scooby-Doo rule: don't split up.
Right, exactly. And, and they tried to play that off with Ezra saying, don't tell me you're afraid of Chopper. We said that to AP5.
Right.
So a few things like that. And then again, so they, Chopper, AP5 is going to do essentially the spacewalk to get back to the cockpit and try and stop this data transmission. And he and Chopper have a little fight outboard, but AP5, outside the ship, but AP5 does manage to disable the, door over the cargo area, so they got out, and then Zeb had way too much fun shocking Chopper. He's been wanting to do that for years, is what he said. And then Hera turns the table on the Empire by doing some massive power feedback on their signal, and telling them to keep their hands off her droid. Okay, two things. One, what did she expect the Empire to do? It's not like they just picked Chopper off the street. They were infiltrating an Imperial facility. So, it's kind of me. It's all's fair in love and war. I appreciate that she views Chopper as a personal friend.
Right.
And that's great. But it seemed like the reaction seemed to be, this is heinous act that the Empire committed. Well, really? Yeah. I mean, you attempted to infiltrate them with your droid, and so they turned the tables on you, and now you're turning the tables back on them. And two, I'm not sure that I bought this whole super power feedback to the listening post across space that caused everything to overpower and blow up the ship. I don't know. What did you think about that?
I want to say the answer to your point number 2 is it's magic, but I was wondering that myself. Maybe, I mean, who knows? Maybe she knew what to transmit back to cause the computer core system to start making everything go haywire, including the fuel cells. Right. Which in that case, it's kind of dark. You know, I kind of like it.
Well, but, she kind of, I wasn't certain that she knew that ship was going to blow up. I thought she just, I thought she was basically thought that she was going to just disable them and wipe out their data banks. But be that as it may, that's what happened.
Yeah. I kind of liked how she said, I liked her protectiveness and, I'm sorry, what was the phrase again? Keep your hands off my droid or,
right.
Yeah. I don't think she was saying that like a property owner. I think she was saying that like, get your hands off of my man or something. You know what I mean? Just like, don't mess with my loved one,
well, right. But I didn't look at it that way so much as get your hands off my droid. Like,
right.
How dare you, Empire, react to my infiltrate your base and steal your secrets by, not cuddling with my droid. I don't know. But,
right.
Okay. Well, one last bit on this episode, and then we have an email regarding it that we all want to read. But, so AP5 has been blown off the side of the ship by Chopper, and, right after the rebels, reclaim the ship, he's out there floating in space, and he breaks into song, and the little spaceman arrays start flying around him, and he's enjoying the solitude and the aloneness. And what was that?
I liked that. I thought it was weird. I thought, it's like, were those things even real? Was he like achieving some higher state of robotic being by accepting his fate? And was he hallucinating in some weird way? Was he passing on to the next plane for robots? And then the bright light coming back to seize him, and he's like, I was at peace. No, and they even clonk him on the head as they're picking him up.
Right.
My daughter and I were watching this together, and we both guffawed out loud over that part because it was just it was such a departure, a detour, you might say, from what you would expect to see. And of course, the music's not source music. It's just soundtrack, right? I think that was more for the audience than it was for the actual story, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. I thought it was kind of humor. I thought it was really funny, to be honest with you. But then again, I understand, if it felt a little jarring, I understand where it would feel like that too to others,
Okay. Well, we got an email from our friend Swara Salih over at...
Do you mean... it's been a while since I've gotten to say it.
Well, you're going to get a chance to say it again later.
Oh, okay. Well, can I just say a little one?
Go ahead.
All right.
Silence, fools.
Very good. Well, Swara says, good day, Scoundrels. I hope you're both doing very well. I thought this was a mediocre episode overall. Comparing it with high-quality episodes Rebels has been able to dish out. I think I put the emphasis in the wrong place there. But anyway, while I like the robot-esque villains in this episode and Hera's badassery at the end, I found the overall execution to be quite lacking. I know people will say and have said that Rebels is a kid's show and should be excused for lowbrow episodes like these, but we know for a fact Dave Filoni and his team can do better with the amazing quality they displayed with Sabine's arc, the season 2 finale, and various others. I pointedly did not like AP5 bursting into song at the end. It was cringeworthy. It made no sense for the moment. Why would an Imperial droid ever be programmed to sing? And ruined the flow of the episode for me. The overall banter between AP5 and Chopper was okay, but not bright or sharp. I doubt even most kids would find it that entertaining. While season 3 has had some amazing episodes, I feel it hasn't been a good cohesive narrative season overall, with incredibly uneven quality between episodes. Unless the next 3 episodes are absolutely incredible and tie the various narrative threads together, I have to rank it as my least favorite season. Anyway, I'm eagerly looking forward to Obi-Wan and Maul showdown next week and to the season 3 finale, which is sure, at least I hope, to rank up there with the seasons 1 and 2 finales. May the Force be with you, Swara Salih, and he's at Swara Salih1 on Twitter.
And co-host of Beltway Banthas, another fine retro zap show.
Exactly. So, I don't completely disagree with Swara. I think this season has had some absolutely phenomenal episodes. But, there's many of these episodes that people are passing off as filler. That, it's not completely unjustified to say. They just don't seem to, while you and I identified a potential link with this and the greater story, it's not so obvious. And as like I was saying earlier, you don't necessarily have to have this story to get us to the Battle of Lothal, or whatever they're going to call it at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think partly we've discussed before their hands were tied in this season because with such a momentous event as Rogue One being released and being so close to the time period, they really had to pull punches, so to speak, and that might have added to the unevenness feel of it. And they're probably not going to have anything like that because the next movie is going to be Episode 8, and that's so far in the future. Then Han Solo, and that's probably before this. So
exactly.
Yeah, they're probably have a freer hand next time. But and I love the Stooges. You know what I mean? I love it when people get hit in the head with things and stuff. I mean, for comedic purposes, not real. And so I don't know. To me, I laugh at absurdity. And that's one of the reasons why I cracked up. I still do over that singing part. Because it is absurd that an Imperial droid would find beauty out in the sun. I mean, it's like he's kind of acceptant of death, and so we would be okay with that because of who his character is. But then to start singing a little song about passing, it's just kind of morose, but yet so weird. That's the reason why I thought it was kind of funny. But then again, I understand where it would be off to people,
right.
I'm probably a very, very small demographic in that regards, but I don't know. But no, I understand what he's saying, though. I do.
Okay. Well, we're about out of time for this Rebels review, so why don't you go ahead and give us your grade?
I'm gonna give it an 88.
An 88?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not an A episode to me. I'm giving it about an 85. I enjoyed it. I had my issues with it, but it's still not a terrible episode. It's not terrible, but it was just not my favorite episode of the season. I think this is about as low as I've gone all season. Or if I haven't, this would be one of my lowest ranked episodes of the season. But hey, you know what? I think we're set up for a great finale to the rest of the season with the Maul Obi-Wan showdown and then their battle at the end of the year.
Yeah, I agree with you. If it wasn't for me, the reason why I even gave it a little higher like that was because of the funnies. I like the funnies, and plus the fact that they made glasses canon now, so nobody can question the fact that I wear glasses.
All right, well that'll do it for our look at Double Agent Droid.
15 seconds after thinking we were losing the Clone Wars on Netflix. Great. Now I'll never know how it ends. 30 minutes after. I haven't even figured out the Mortis arc. 3 hours after. But Ahsoka lives. She lives. 14 hours after.
Dad, I found a copy on DVD.
Quick, let me have it. Wait. This is the Tartakovsky version.
What's the difference?
You are dead to me 1 day after.
Wait a minute, Dad. Did you actually look at Netflix to see if it's gone?
No. Oh, sweet rapture. There it is. There it is. I'm watching the droid arc. Keep calm. The Clone Wars are on.
It's time for...
Silence, fools!
All right. Well, after a quiet week last week, to say the least, we have this email from Brian Johnson.
Oh.
It says, "Greetings, SQ'd podcast. Well, I have had a crazy morning getting photo ops for Fan Expo. I was at my PC at 9:59 a.m. Waiting for the tickets to be released. 10 a.m. hit. Nothing happened. 10:01. What the frack? I'm not going to get to meet Mark Hamill. 10:02. Fan Expo tweets out a direct link to purchase tickets. I order Hamill's first with no issue. I order a photo with Katie Sackhoff, then it processes and gives me a failed order message. So naturally, I completely freaked out and sent multiple emails full of panic, desperation, and anger that would make young Anakin proud. I actually had a vision straight from Empire that this would happen and told Taxus about it. Finally, I get a reply from Epic Photo Ops that they have processed my order and tickets will be emailed later. Excellent. At the time I'm writing this, they still have not sent them. Sorry, Brian. I am hoping to get them soon. I can't wait for this awesome experience and to meet some awesome famous and not some famous people. May the force be with you, Brian Johnson. P.S. I just got my tickets. Excuse the BSG reference. So say we all. See you guys there. So that's cool. It's this is something to consider. If you have some of these celebrities are going to be at Celebration, showing up at a local convention beforehand, maybe you go get their autograph there. Save yourself some time and some lines at Celebration, and maybe some potential heartache as well. You're going to be waiting up all night. If you want to get in some of those panels, maybe getting some of the autographs knocked out in advance wouldn't be such a bad thing.
Plus, it kind of gives you other options too when you get there.
Right.
But he did it the right way, in my opinion. If you really want to get an autograph or get a photo op, you should. Well, it's more so for the photo ops. I think the autographs are pretty much first come, first serve. And usually they're just done cash on hand. But the photo ops, if you pay for it in advance, I would recommend that because those will go, just like you said, Felicity Jones.
There's a bit of a trade-off when it comes to these things, just like it was when we're trying to order Celebration tickets and everything else. You want to be one of the first people that line up to make sure you get it, but at the same time, everyone is lining up to make sure they get it. And so these servers tend to crash, and there's slow response time. So I'm glad it worked out for Brian there. So, hey, if you want that photo op, I would definitely hop on to the website and get it. And he made another mention of Fan Expo Dallas, and I'll just plug it one more time. We are going to be there and covering the event for the show and for RetroZap. So if you see us around, say hi.
Yeah, and I'm really jealous because, I know Brian does, and I do too, love Sackhoff.
Alrighty then. Okay. Well, thanks. That'll do it for this edition of Sounds Fools. There's so much going on, but it's time to bring episode 24 to an end, Taxus.
Not unless we get stuck in a time loop.
There's so much going on, but it's time to bring episode 24 to an end, Taxus.
Not unless we get stuck in a time loop.
There's so much going on. Stop it.
Yeah, it's about time.
Okay, Scoundrels, if you'd like to support the show, the best thing you could do is to leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcast. iTunes reviews are the best and the biggest pain to write, but we would love to read a review next on the show. Also, we appreciate it anytime you share our show posts on Twitter and Facebook. Please let others know you're listening. Thanks to our dedicated listeners that have been sharing our shows with others. Speaking of social media, Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels can be followed on Twitter at SQPod and liked on Facebook where we are facebook.com/SQPod. If you want to follow Darth Taxus on Twitter, he is at Darth Taxus, and I can be followed at DJKVER2. In addition to social media, you can reach us by email at sqpod@richardsap.com. Excited for the announcement that Rebels was renewed? Stoked that Celebration is next month? Have anything else that is on your mind? Let us know. The best emails, which is pretty much all the emails, end up in Sounds Fools. Again, the email address is sqpod@retrozap.com. As always, we are honored to be part of the retrozap.com podcast network. Please check out RetroZap for other great shows, including, and in no particular order, Brews and Blasters, The Argcast, The Deucecast Movie Show, Dunecast, Skywalking Through Neverland, Classic Marvel Comics, Talking Apes TV, Techno Retro Dads, The Trade Federation, We Know Nothing, The Animanicast, Beltway Banthas, The Sandcrawler, and Kanata's Castle. Special thanks to Aaron Lay for our show logos and to James Volpe, also known as Jimmy V, the Ska Geek, for our The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly show logo. And here is our legal disclaimer. Starship, Sabers, and Scoundrels is not endorsed, affiliated with, or sponsored by Lucasfilm Limited and Disney. The show is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. All characters, music, and sounds are the intellectual property of the respective copyright holders. All else is the intellectual property of Starship, Sabers, and Scoundrels, unless otherwise indicated. So here we are at the end. Any final thoughts, Taxus?
Yeah, maybe there wouldn't have been an Empire's End if they had fought on a different front.
That'll do it for episode 24 of Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels. Always, thanks for listening and joining us this week. We'll catch up with you next time, and may the Force be with you.
Maybe on the bottom.
should be frightened, but I'm strangely calm. The silence, solitude. This is beautiful. I'm in a world all my own. I do not feel alone. It's easy to see I fit perfectly in this wonderful, beautiful city. No, go away. I was so happy.